What's up guys, and welcome back to Lex Alexas. Today we have got championship score predictions. Of course, we have got match day 11 to predict. This is the last game week before the second international break, and my goodness me, do I need a bit of a break going through all these games and this quick turnaround of games. But it is non-stop domestic football action, and I'm all for it, as I feel all of you guys are as well. Let me know of your reaction to the midweek games that just concluded in the comments down below. I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure you predict the championship games if you want to get involved in the Lex Alexas Football Prediction League, where the competition is getting ever more intense. Now, with it being a weekend themed game, of course on the left hand side of the screen you can also see my Premier League predictions as well. I just predict these for a little bit of fun. You guys can also feel free to predict those as well. If you get any correct scores, I can potentially heart your comments and stuff. But for your championship predictions, if you want to get involved in the prediction league, all you're going to do is leaving a comment and you'll be entered for free. So apart from that, I think we're ready to get going with our championship predictions. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really helps to grow this channel. I think we've got 50 likes as a target. I think 50 likes is a decent target for this. You guys smashed it in the last couple of videos, so we'll set 50 likes as our benchmark for today. Please do make sure you hit the subscribe button too, as we are edging ever closer to 2,000 subscribers. It's actually quite scary how close we are now, and I've got to thank you guys for the terrific support. And please also share the channel too, because all these things are free to do and they really do help the growth of this channel. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these weekend's games. So let's start off with Birmingham. They have got to play a game against West Bromwich Albion. Now, I'm really going to be intrigued of the outcome of this match. So, Birmingham played out a terrific game against Huddersfield. It was the perfect way to get a response, where their form has really stuttered in their last couple of games, where they had a heavy injury list, in around their midfield area especially. But against Huddersfield, things just kind of went their way. It was actually a pretty intense game from both sides, and both teams carving out many chances, but Birmingham were ruthless with how clinical they were going forward, and Huddersfield really couldn't deal with them whatsoever. Birmingham just gave themselves enough of a cushion to manage the game really professionally. West Brom definitely weren't as convincing as they were against Preston, but they still got the job done against a real toothless and doomed looking Sheffield Wednesday side, unfortunately for them. It was a 1-0 win, and they had 17 shots, but with only 3 on target. So I think it just is more damning to Sheffield Wednesday that West Brom were very poor going forward, and even with that, Sheffield Wednesday really could not capitalise on that, sadly. So West Brom will now move on to a tougher game, in my opinion, against this Birmingham City side, who definitely can take chances and can definitely find the ball in the back of the net. As a prediction, I can see Birmingham continuing on with their form, but at the same time, West Brom have looked like that they're starting to get a little bit more consistency with their build-up play, which is leading up to more chances and opportunities. I think, therefore, I'll go and compromise and say a 1-1 draw for this game. I don't think I can separate the two teams. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sunderland versus Middlesbrough. So a little bit of a local derby. Honestly, I'm really excited for the outcome of this game, because both teams, with their form, have been doing really well. Sunderland picked up, I would dare say, a comfortable win against Watford in midweek, winning by 2-0. And definitely when Watford went down to 10 men, I think Sunderland were just really comfortable for a lot of that game. As with Middlesbrough, their form had completely taken an upwards trajectory. And I think a lot of us predicted it only needed one win for Middlesbrough to kickstart their season, and that is exactly what they've done. It's 3 wins now in a row for Middlesbrough, and they won very recently against a very informed Cardiff side as well, and actually did really well to deal with their threats that they were going into this game with. So really pleased with Middlesbrough for the fact that they're really starting to look like the Middlesbrough team of old, taking their chances and looking very good all across the pitch. But this game here is really tough. I see both teams carrying a lot of threat and confidence going into this match. So hopefully we should see an end-to-end encounter between these two. So as a prediction, I think, again, like Birmingham and West Brom, I'm not brave enough to back either one of them. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw again. Playing it a little bit safe, I think, with my predictions so far. I'm not gone too ballsy at this moment of time. I just really like what both of them are doing, and I can't edge one of them to get the results. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Cardiff versus Watford. So I've already mentioned both of these teams going through my predictions. So Cardiff and both Watford have experienced a loss in their midweek games. Cardiff losing out against Middlesbrough, of course, ending by 2-0. Watford, of course, they were involved also in a 2-0 defeat, but against Sunderland. So both teams will be wanting to try and go into this game to kind of right the wrong that they had within that midweek. I think Cardiff definitely, I felt, would be the team felt a little bit more encouraged than what Watford had shown, by the way, especially with how they've created and their momentum leading up to that game as well. I think Cardiff have definitely shown to me that they can sustain some good momentum, and they've got some really, really good players that can really cause a threat. Watford, on the other hand, they're really struggling with their form right now. They're only within a matter of points above the relegation zone. And I really do not know where it's gone wrong for this Watford side, because from that first game of the season, I expected this Watford team to be full of attacking threat. But now all of a sudden, it's like they've lost that threat that they carried from that first couple of games where they were scoring goals for fun. And now they're firing blanks at games, and it's really costing them. And I think discipline proving to be an issue as well, with them going down to 10 men recently too. So I do think there are some external factors really not quite right with this Watford side. They could easily get a result here, because I just think the options they have, even though I think it's definitely a more depleted squad from as terms of a starting 11 compared to what we're used to with Watford. They have got the manager, the persona, and more importantly, the experience to turn those sorts of bad patches around. But for me, I think Cardiff, can offer more on a day. They're at home as well, where Cardiff at home have looked really good too. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for 1-0 win to Cardiff. I don't think it's going to be heavily goal scoring, but I think Cardiff will edge it. So I'm going to go for a home win. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The next game to predict is Coventry versus Norwich. Now I'm really looking forward to this one actually, because I think both of them could really give themselves a really good game right now. Coventry have recovered their form. They've been another team like Middlesbrough, which I felt at this moment of time, they're just going through a couple of results that don't necessarily reflect on their performance. They managed to scrape a 1-0 victory against Blackburn Rovers, with Haji Wright getting the goal. And it was a big goal for him, because since scoring against Middlesbrough, Haji Wright has really struggled, I felt, to continue that goal scoring form. And a lot of pressure is put on him at such a young age too. And I'm glad in a way that we're starting to see the likes of Sims improve, Wright improve, Godden always chipping in as well. So I'm really excited to see how this Coventry team starts to flourish later on down in the line in the season. Norwich are in a tough place right now. They are definitely struggling with not having their two recognised strikers fit. But also, they're looking like they're really struggling defensively as well. And if they do not work on that, then there's going to be some real issues going around with Norwich City. And that's one thing I've noticed. They barely kept a clean sheet this season. So their back line has been a big problem. And despite Coventry in their last couple of games, not looking particularly good when it came to build-up play or creating chances, now that they've scored the amount that they've managed to score now within their last two games to get those 2 wins in a row, I think they can be right up for this against this Norwich City defence. As a prediction, I might back Coventry here. I've not backed them a lot this year, but I'm going to predict them for a 2-1 win to Coventry. I think Coventry are looking more up for this, and I think they'll be better prepared too. So I'm going to go 2-1 to the Sky Blues. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is a top of the table clash between Ipswich Town and Preston North End. It is second versus third, and I will be going to this game, so I'm really hoping that we're going to see a really entertaining encounter. I have got a bit of a bad feeling for Ipswich against this team. And I'll tell you why as I predict. So Ipswich had a really good result midweek, a 3-0 victory against Hull City. And I've got to say, I think 95% of the Ipswich fans that I spoke to were very pessimistic about this game. And honestly, to not only beat Hull, but to beat them in the style and the way that they did, it is really encouraging, because Hull have been the only team to beat Leicester so far this season, and they were unbeaten since the opening day of the season. So Hull City are no pushovers, and Ipswich did dismantle them quite effectively. Preston are definitely in a tough place now after starting the season so well. They've now have had back-to-back defeats, losing on an aggregate score of 7-0. I mean, that is not the sort of forward you want to be facing against Ipswich Town, who are up there for one of the top goal scorers in the Championship. But having said that, Ipswich's defence, I think, is definitely not as good as Leicester's, and I'll dare say West Brom, I think, have got a better defence than Ipswich Town too. So Preston could try and exploit that, but what I think we'll see in this game is that I think Preston will sit back and allow Ipswich to play their football. And I do think Ipswich play better against teams who like to play out from the back and play football. And that is why I think they beat Hull the way that they did. Preston, I think, will make it very difficult. And as a prediction, I would actually not be surprised if Preston score first here. But I'm going to edge the Tractor Boys for a 2-1 victory. I think they might just have it within them to overturn any moment that Preston may throw at them. So I'm going to go 2-1. Maybe if Will Keane is back fit, he'll score for Preston, knowing for how much of a flop he was at Ipswich. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Leeds versus Bristol City. Both managed to win their midweek game. Leeds, of course, managed to beat by QPR by 1-0. It wasn't like a heavily scoring match, but it was a really comfortable match within the end, and it could have been worse off when Asmir Begovic got himself sent off right near the end as well. Going into this game, I do think Leeds are now consistently looking like a threat going forward now. I do see Leeds carrying more of the threat, is basically what I'm trying to say, going into each match now. And I feel like each team playing Leeds now is going to have more fear. And Bristol City, they are no pushovers. They have done relatively well this season. I think for what I expected, not really down there, but not really up there either. Kind of in that middle playing ground. But they did get a good last-ditch win against Rotherham. Whilst they did lead quite late on, Rotherham did pin them back. But I think it was Conway that managed to get the winning goal. 2-1 to Bristol City. My only correct score prediction, actually, as well. So I thank Bristol City for that. Going into this game, I think, again, I'm not seeing too many goals in this one, which may be crazy for me to say for know how much Leeds could score, but also Bristol City's strong away form. So I do think we're going to see two really intense sides here, who I think will both be up for this. But I'm going to go for Leeds for a 1-0 win. I think they might just have enough going forward and just have enough options to get past this Bristol City side. So I'm going to go 1-0 to Leeds. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Leicester versus Stoke. I mean, Leicester right now look like they're in a different stratosphere from all the other teams within the Championship. Another win, another clean sheet, and another 3 goals scored for this Leicester City side. And it really looks like now we're starting to see the flow that we were expecting Leicester to have earlier on in the season. It took them a couple of games to kind of get to their rhythm, but even when they didn't play at their best, they were still able to find ways to win without playing well. And that's the scary part about Leicester. They may not even play well against Stoke here, but they just have that quality that they can find a way to get a result. Stoke, of course, they lost in midweek against Southampton. I felt that game could have gone either way, but I think based on how the ball was held, I think Southampton did earn their credentials to get those 3 points there. Going into this game, I see Leicester being a team who won't be slowing down anytime soon. They're looking like they're pumping so many goals in at the moment. Stoke, Could maybe offer the odd moment, but I just don't think anywhere near enough, unfortunately. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Leicester. I think this is going to be another pretty routine game for them. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Millwall. Now, I think this one is quite interesting because both teams have had contrasting results in midweek. Millwall managed to beat Plymouth by 2-0. In fact, there have been only one of two teams to beat Plymouth at home park so far this season. Hull, of course, lost for the first time in over 9 games, actually, against Ipswich Town. So, Millwall got their win against Plymouth for me because they did not contain the ball, but when they did have the ball and they were able to effectively attack Plymouth, whether it's a counter-attack or a set-piece situation, they were really clinical and ruthless with that. And Plymouth just were kind of like running around in circles and just could not break down this Millwall side. If there's any team that's difficult to break down, if you've not got a confident strike partnership, it is Millwall. Millwall will kind of like eat those teams for breakfast and just kind of win the game within 20% of the ball, which is practically what they did against Plymouth in midweek. For Hull City, I felt this one was just being outclassed in a footballing sense there. They did have some chances, Hull, and I've got to say, on another day, maybe the game could have swayed more to their favour, but they were taught a footballing lesson against Ipswich Town, where they were very ruthless with their chances and looked a constant threat from minute one. But I do think Hull can be more up for this one. I just have this feeling that I think Hull could bounce back here. Millwall, you know, maybe a bit of an intimidating test for Hull to try and go back to winning ways. But I honestly think with the options that they got, and even though that they did miss those chances against Ipswich, I definitely think for what they offer going forward, I think could definitely trounce this Millwall side, where I still think there are some things not quite right. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Hull. I have a funny feeling that they may go back to winning ways. So I'm going to say 2-1 to the away side. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Plymouth-Swansea. Now, I'm really excited for this one. Plymouth, of course, lost against Millwall, so I've already reiterated. They were having a lot of the ball and actually having more shots than Millwall as well. But they just weren't clinical enough, sadly. And it's one of the very few times where I saw Plymouth struggling to break a team down. And that's exactly what happened when they were containing a lot of the ball against this Millwall side. Swansea are continuing their upsurge in form, likewise in Middlesbrough, and I dare say Coventry as well. It is also a winning streak for this Swansea side, and they recently beat Norwich City after being pegged back for an equaliser as well from Gary Osara as well. So brilliant mentality for Swansea to keep themselves into the game and to hold on and to get the 3 points. I mean, I think Swansea have now given themselves a much better chance in this game. I would have said, if I looked at this fixture a couple of weeks ago, that this would be a routine Plymouth win. But honestly, I think this is going to be a really, really good game now. A prediction for me, I think we'll get goals from both sides. I think both teams will offer something here. Plymouth probably maybe edging out as favours with their really good home record, but I can't ignore how well Swansea have been, and especially Matt Grimes getting a goal contribution in his last 2 games as well. He's now starting to enter his brilliance for the season as well. I think I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, actually. I know that's what I predicted Swansea against Norwich in my midweek, but honestly, I wasn't too far away from the amount of goal mouth action we will get. And I think we're going to get a similar game here. So I'm going to go 2-2 between these two sides. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is QPR versus Blackburn. My goodness me, don't both of these teams really, really need a win right now. QPR had, unfortunately for them, a bad defeat with them going down to 10 men in the way that they did as well against Leeds United. It was definitely not the best of days for them, and it means Begovic will not start in goal for this game either. So I think Archer is going to have to go in goal for this game here. Blackburn, I mean, they've completely collapsed with everyone recently. I've not mentioned this, but Kieran McKenna, at least, he's won Manager of the Month with him picking up 4 wins and then 1 draw as well. If there was a reward for like Wooden Spoon Manager of the Month, it'd be Blackburn Rovers, because they've lost 4 games in a row. And what's concerning me is the amount of goals they're conceding as well. They've conceded 12 goals in their last 4 games. So defensively, Blackburn are looking very, very open right now. But I do sense QPR at home as well have not really proven that they are able to pick up results on their home ground. And I feel like if they don't here, their home fans are going to get really, really frustrated. They are currently in the relegation zone, but they can overtake Blackburn with a win here. But Blackburn could see this as a really good opportunity to try and kickstart their season again, because they did start quite well, and then those 4 defeats in a row has really put Blackburn and John Dale Thompson under a great deal of pressure here. As a prediction, I could see this ending 0-0, but I think what we'll see is QPR actually having more of the ball, but I think Blackburn could sneak in a result a little bit like what they did against Watford. Because one thing I didn't mention was Blackburn have been conceding lots, they actually have been scoring quite effectively too. And I think that might be the difference here. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Blackburn. I think it's going to be pretty cagey because of both these teams being low in confidence. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game today is Sheffield Wednesday versus Huddersfield Town. I did mention this in my intro, but Xisco Munoz is officially the first manager to depart in the Championship. Now, Sheffield Wednesday did not actually use the word sacked, and they didn't even put out a statement. It was literally a post on their Twitter page saying that Sheffield Wednesday and Xisco Munoz have parted company or something like that with immediate effect. I mean, that is shocking. I mean, it is blunt as it is, but no mentioning of sacking, no mentioning of we're desperate to find a replacement and such. It is just, this is a decision, you've been expecting it, here it is, move on. So it does feel a little bit sudden in the way that it was handled, but Sheffield Wednesday officially have had the worst start in any Championship club in recent history, so they really need some inspiration here. And against Huddersfield, honestly, I feel like they are a team that Sheffield Wednesday could realistically try and get something from, but Huddersfield, I have to say, have looked quite good since Darren Moore has come in. I wouldn't say they look as comfortable as they were, you know, in the tail end of last season under Warnock, but they're still creating chances. And I dare say against Birmingham, if they were more clinical, I think they would have actually been more within the game there. And I've got to say, going into this game, Darren Moore has definitely got them to be quite a stubborn side to play up against. This could end 0-0, but honestly, I think we will get a 1-1 draw. I just don't see Sheffield Wednesday losing this one. I think with Xisco Munoz now gone, I think there could be a small bounce going in. You know, maybe some people will be predicting 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday, and that would be typical for Championship for them to get their first win of the season at this stage. But I think a draw is probably where I stand within these two teams. So I'm going to go for a draw here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The final game to predict is Southampton versus Rotherham. Now, I feel like a lot of predictors, and unfortunately including myself, is really going to be thinking, right, well, we know who's going to be the favourites, and it would be Southampton. And I do say, like a couple of weeks ago, I think Southampton would have looked at this game being quite challenging, but they have managed to win 2 games in a row. They look like they are now starting to claw back from the damaging form that they had in the end of September. So I do think Southampton are the favourites against Rotherham because of the options that they have going forward. And in fact, a different goal scorer scoring in their game against Stuart Armstrong rather than Adam Armstrong scoring for Southampton there. So again, like Leicester, have got so many options that can potentially change the game for them. Rotherham, unfortunately, especially away from home, their away record is dire and they're not scoring enough goals. And for me, I think Southampton could win this one quite comfortably, actually. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Southampton. I think this one will feel quite comfortable. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. So guys, that is my predictions for the Championship now concluded. As always, guys, make sure you comment your predictions as well in the comments down below so you guys can have a chance to enter the Let's Leicester Football Prediction League. That'll wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please smash the like button if you've not done so. It really helps. Please do hit the subscribe button too. It really does help. All these things are free to do and it really does help the growth of this channel. Please also share the channel as well, because that is how more people are going to know what we're all about. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you're still on the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.